So the next section here is relations and functions. This is another really easy topic to get. Kids can get confused on this, but I think I came up with a rather clever way of teaching this, and hopefully it'll make sense to you. Let's just define what this stuff is. So a relation is any ordered pair. The way you have to remember it in Algebra 1 for your Keystone test, anything graphable. You can graph anything you want to. So anything you're going to see in Algebra 1, and I can't think of an example when it's not a relation, is a relation. So it could be a graph of a line, it could be a graph of a square, it could be a graph of a smiley face, it could be a graph of anything. Any graph, any set of ordered pairs, any kind of mapping. I'll show you what all this stuff means in a second. Anything you see is going to be a relation. So no matter what, you're always going to pick a relation. Now, whether or not that relation is a function is a different story. Functions must pass the vertical line test. Just as a review, vertical line is going up and down. In order to pass a vertical line test, it is only allowed to intersect your vertical line at one point. If it intersects the line at more than one point, it fails the vertical line test and therefore is not a function. Now, it also must pass Mr. Fry's radio station test. Now, this is a Mr. Fry original. As far as I know, I'm the first one to ever come up with this. You know, if I am not, I apologize, but I thought of it on my own. Now, what do I mean by radio station test? Well, here, I downloaded a picture of a car radio for you to reference. Hopefully everybody in the world has seen a car radio before and understand how they work. Now, what you would do is if you're driving down the road, you would push the number 1, and that would send it to a defaulted radio station that you picked. Okay? We've all been driving down the road and we have how lost reception maybe on one radio station and started picking up another. So if you get two radio stations at the same time, your radio is no longer quote-unquote functioning. So think of it that way. If you pick up more than one radio station, you are not functioning. Now, if you wanted to, you could take all of these buttons, all these preset buttons, and put them to the same radio station if you wanted to. Maybe you really like, I don't know, 97.9. Maybe that's your favorite radio station. You don't care about anything else. So that's all you want to listen to is 97.9. So no matter what you push, they all go to 97.9. That's fine. Your radio can do that. But maybe you like 97.9 and, I don't know, Froggy 101. You can't push the button and have it go to the same radio station or two different radio stations. It won't work. Each button has to have its own output. Okay, that's one thing I want to talk about. These buttons, well, I like to say these are your X's. These are the physical inputs that you're pushing on the radio. The output is what would appear on your screen. Okay, on your little radio station. This is what you're listening to screen. So these problems can look a little intimidating, but they're not that bad. And I'll do a few for you, and I think you'll get the hang of it pretty quick if you keep in mind my radio station test. So it wants to know which of these describes a function. Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but right now, these are all relations. No matter what they graph, no matter what they look like, you can graph any one of these ordered pairs. These are relations. Same thing with these. These are all relations too. Okay? But which one is the function? Well, let's take a look at the radio station test and see if we can't figure it out, because we can't use a vertical line because we don't have a graph. So if I pretend that the X is the input, so this is the actual button. So I come up and I push the button 3 on my radio. It's trying to take me to the -1 radio station. But when I push it again, it's trying to take me to the +1 radio station. So this is what I'm talking about. Pushing the number 3 is trying to take you to 2 different radio stations. You can't listen to that radio. It's garbage. Same thing here. Look at this. If I push the 0 button, it would try to take me to a radio station 0 and a radio station 3. Not a functioning radio. It's no good. If I look at this one, -3 is going to -4. That looks good. -4 goes to -3. That looks good. 3 goes to 4, and 4 goes to 3. So far, that one looks good. Let's just check the rest of them and see if there's any that have more than one answer. 3 is trying to take me to 3, and 3 is trying to take me to 4. No good. Bad radio. So C has got to be the answer. Now, when you look at these are called mappings. They can look really intimidating, but the same idea works as far as my radio station test goes. So if I looked at this is the actual buttons on your radio. Push the button 4, it's trying to take you to 1 and 3. So I know this is a bad radio. 4 is trying to take me to 1 and 3. Another bad radio. 8 is trying to take me to 3 and 1. No good. So this one better work. Now this one, look at it. It's okay. The button 2 takes me to 1. The button 4 takes me to 1. So that's okay. That's like having, maybe you really like radio station 1 so much you programmed it twice for 2 different buttons. You can do that. Why not? Your radio would still work. Same thing with here. 6 and 8 is going to the same thing. So Z would be your answer for that. There's another kind of another example of a mapping. Again, behaves the same way with the radio station. 4 is taking me to 2, no good. 10 is taking me to 2, that's no good. 6 is trying to take me to 2, no good. These two are going to the same one, no problem. You're allowed to do that. We're good to go. Okay. Now, I finally have a graph. Now it says which graph is a function. Let's remember, these are all relations, every single one. So if it asks you if it's a relation, you just say yes, blindly. You know, they're always a relation. I'm going to hold my vertical line up. I'm going to show the ones that aren't functions. Let's start down here with the vertical line. Well, a vertical line intersects a vertical line at every single point on it. So that's no good. An oval is intersecting at 2 points. Let me get another pencil here. See, it's intersecting like here, and it's intersecting there. That's no good. So we're not going to use that one. That's not a good one. Down here, this like sideways V, or however you want to look at it, that's intersecting at 2 points. That's no good. But the top one is just a little old line going from left to right. My vertical line test isn't intersecting the line at more than 1 point, so I know W is good. Okay. Another mapping. Then they give us a table. Tables behave the same way as the mappings do. X is your radio station. So right here, the -9 is taking me to 17 and taking me to 18. No good. Let's jump down to C. This one looks good just by eyeballing it. But -13 is trying to take me to 19 and 25. No good. D is taking me, I got -1 and -1 going to 19 and 18. No good. This one, every button has its own radio station. That sounds good to me. Okay. Then they, so here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, like when I ask you if it's a relation, whenever you get a question like this, I'm not even reading the question yet. I already know I have garbage to throw out before I even start my problem. I am never going to pick a function only, because it's always a relation. So every single problem you see is a relation. If you pick function only, that implies that it's not a relation, so that can't be. It's never going to be, it can't be neither a relation or a function, because it's always a relation. So whenever you get a question like this, it's either a relation only or both. So right off the bat, you never ever pick ones that say neither or a function only. They're always, always, always wrong. So we have to determine, use our radio station test. Let's take a look. Is it a relation? Yes, but is it a function? So -2 is going to 1. That looks okay. 0 is going to 3. 5 is going to 8. 9 is going to -12. I would say based off this information, it's going to be both. Then they like to give you a weird one. I've seen these. They started popping these on last year. So let's talk about these. They're real easy. Again, if you can understand my radio station test, you should be good to go. So let's see. It says, given that a function f of x, oh, sorry, let me zoom in for you so you can see. Given that a function f of x has a domain of -15 to +45, so we're going to include them. So I just kind of sketched it so you can see. So just pretend these are all your available buttons. Okay, so these are all your available buttons. So you have a big radio that has a -15 button all the way to a 45 button. Okay, and the range goes from -65 to -5. Okay, now be careful with this, because what they've done is they said that when f of 5, so that means when x is 5, your output is -17. Okay, so they already predetermined, look at it this way, they already preset a button for you. They're saying that when you push 5, it's going to -17. And when you push -15, it's going to take you to -65. That's what that's trying to tell you. So those buttons are already preset. You can't go back in and reprogram them. What statement could be true? So this one's going to have more than one. So I'm going to look right here at this. So this is f of 5 is going to equal -17. Well, I can't pick this one because f of 5 is already predetermined to go to -17. If I picked it to go to -42, my radio station wouldn't work. My radio wouldn't work. So that one's no good. They don't have anything else talking about -15, so we're okay. If you look, 45 is going to 65 or -65, but you can do that. Why not? You're allowed to do that. You have two buttons going to the same radio station because you like it, so I'm picking that one. Okay. Now, when the button is 50, okay, well, the button's not allowed to be 50 because our domain, the problem said it can only go to 45, so I know that this one's no good. Now, when f is 25, when x is 25, 25 is on my number line. Can the y be -10? Well, yeah, -10 would be down there somewhere, so it falls within the restrictions they gave us on the range, so I like that one too. I'm going to pick that one. And can the X button be negative 20 or positive 20? Sure, it'd be somewhere on the given presets that they gave us. Can it be negative 10? Yeah. So those would be your answers for that one. So that's relations and functions. Hopefully that makes sense. I like that section. I think it's easy and it's actually kind of fun.